everybody, this is Havoc, and if you don't follow Total War on their channel or follow Total War on social media, this will be brand new news. So it appears that Rome 2 is officially announced for either the DLC or as the saga in terms of time period and in terms of engine. I believe it will be the DLC, since the DLC has been confirmed in their latest blog that that's the one that's coming out the quickest by the end of the year. And with this, we only get the real tagline of a fractured Rome 2 logo, by the way. And then the tagline is at the end of an empire or just the beginning. And so there's a couple of few things that we can dive into here. There are two time periods on the opposite ends of the spectrum that I think would work really well as a Rome 2 DLC. More along the saga for this first one, but we'll get there when we get there. So for the first idea is the idea of the crisis of the 3rd century. This took place between 235 upwards into the 280s AD. It was a period in the Roman Empire where it nearly collapsed and fractured due to invasion, due to civil war. We have plague. We have economic issues. It began with the assassination of the Emperor Severus Alexander by his own troops in 235, and they're in the space of kind of the 50 to 60-ish years time period of the 3rd century crisis. You had 26 people laying claim to the title of emperor, primarily Roman generals who all kind of fractured the empire. At this point in time, the empire was divided into 3 different sections. You had the main Roman Empire, which comprised mostly of the Italian peninsula, most of Greece, your African holdings, parts of Turkey. You had the Gallic or Gallic Empire, which comprised primarily of Roman Gaul, so France and upwards into Roman Britannia. And then you had the Palmyrene Empire, which pretty much held the Middle Eastern coast, Israel, Egypt, Eastern Turkey, and into the Middle East. And it was during this time that, there's a lot of really good things in here that makes for a good Total War expansion and or saga. You have invasion from the Alemanni, from the several Germanic tribes that saw the infighting of Rome between the Roman generals who were all claiming to be emperor. So the borders were weak, which allowed for invasion to come in. A lot of this is setting up for Total War Attila. Now, mind you, Total War Attila was much later, but the events that happened here very much set up kind of the first step in the fall of the Roman Empire. So I think this would be a really good DLC. You have multiple factions that you can choose of. You have your core Roman factions. You could be as one of the Germanic tribes trying to push into Rome and make a name for yourself. So it really does embolden the idea this could be the end of the Roman Empire. It wasn't historically, but it could be, or it could be the beginning of the empire, because it is at this point, once everyone was consolidated, once quote-unquote peace had settled down, that you began the split between the Eastern and the Western Roman Empire. Things were just too great. They couldn't handle it. So I think it was in the 290s, maybe, that the split happened. I don't quite remember the exact dates on that. But I think that would be a really, really good time period for either the DLC or the saga in the Rome 2 setting using the Rome 2 engine. Now, for the other one, this is going, again, the opposite end of the spectrum. I was speculating with Petilius on this, and he actually gave me a really good idea, and it is the idea of Alexander the Great. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with the tagline? Well, if you think about it, it is at the end of an empire. It didn't say the empire, it didn't say the Roman Empire, mind you. It just said, is this the end of the empire? Which means we could be seeing the rise of Alexander in terms of the fall of the Persian Empire by Alexander the Great and his forces, or is it the beginning? And that could, of course, mean the rise of Alexander the Great's empire. This would make kind of more sense for a DLC, considering the expanse of the 3rd century crisis. It seems a little too massive to be a DLC. It would fit more as a saga title, but I think the rise of Alexander the Great would be a perfect time period for the DLC. For Rome 2, a lot of people were asking for a revamp of Alexander. A lot of people, including myself, are hoping, regardless, for a revamp of the Alexander the Great campaign. And I think it would be a really good DLC. It would be a lot more focused on one section, which means they could make a larger map of a smaller region and I think that would be great as a DLC, much like the Caesar in Gaul or even Hannibal at the Gates. Those are the 2 time periods. I mean, again, the emphasis is on the rise or fall of an empire. So it has to kind of be focused around an empirical faction, which of course would be Rome in the 3rd century and or Persia in the 3rd century BC. Those are kind of my 2 time periods now that we kind of have a more solid idea. I'm really hoping to see a trailer either at the end of today, Lord willing, or by the end of the week. Regardless, this DLC will come out by the end of the year. I think that was confirmed. So it makes sense that they are now promoting it. Hopefully, maybe even by the end of the month, we will have this DLC. And of course, I will keep up with all of the news that comes out from Total War. I am subscribed to them. I have notifications turned on. So if anything new pops up, I'll be one of the first ones to hop on that and give this to you. And of course, fingers crossed that I will be getting it early to be able to get some early access content to you guys. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick little speculation video. Again, the 3rd century crisis or the rise of Alexander the Great. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the channel to keep up to date with all of the latest Total War news. This is Havoc, and I'm out of here. Peace.